Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Welcome back. Now, in today's political climate, conversations around the Igbo agenda and regional cohesion have become even more urgent. Now, with us in the studio this morning is Pat Onukuli. He's a real estate mogul and a legal practitioner to discuss Igbo agenda and cohesion in Nigeria political future. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Thank you.
From your observation, is there currently a coherent and actionable Igbo political agenda, or are we witnessing multiple fragmented interests, moving in different directions? What are your thoughts?
Thank you once again for having me. I think this question is packed. It's packed in the sense, but the short answer to it is no. And it stems from the underlying philosophical basis or whatever, how the Igbos perceive themselves. Igbos perceive themselves more or operate more as republicans. And that means most times there is strict or, I won't say strict competition. And that's always led the Igbos to where they are. So you should expect that cohesion, cohesion I would say is a bit antithetical to the spirit of being a Republican. So, but for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing in itself. So I would say that cohesion, as we want to see cohesion, is currently not there. Igbos, by their nature, tend to speak from different voices because they have this free spirit. They believe in competition, they see things differently. But at the end of the day, underlyingly, it's not a bad thing. And the Igbos would, at the end of the day, have the interest of Igbos at heart.
All right. Now, what does the term Igbo agenda actually mean to you in the context of Nigeria's political development?
Well, an agenda, of course, means, some sort of, I would describe agenda as some sort of program for a people. And the Igbos in Nigeria have always been at the receiving end for so many reasons. So the Igbo agenda at the end of the day, I will look at it as a situation where they are looking for fairness in the scheme of things. I don't think the Igbos are asking for favoritism. They are not asking for, to be given special status. All they want, as I can see, it's a fair playing ground, which does not appear to be the situation now. So Igbo agenda, for me, I would describe it as, seeking a fair and a more united country. And don't forget, I think the Igbos are the federating people of Nigeria. They're everywhere in the whole country.
Now, speaking from what you just said about Igbos wanting a fair playing ground, now some people are of the opinion that this agenda is mostly for responding emotionally and individually to the unfolding political dynamics of this idea of marginalization, and that the Igbos are not strategically negotiating for power. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't quite agree with that. The Igbos are no fools, and just like any other ethnic group, nobody is a fool, especially collectively. So the Igbos have experienced marginalization, they've experienced a lot of, hatred, they've experienced a lot of, let me use the word, I don't want to use it, genocide against them. There was a very unfortunate civil war, and before then, so many of them were killed in the north, and these things are psychological wounds that are very difficult to heal. The Igbos have memory. After the war, they were told there's no victor, no vanquished. They told that there will be the 3 R's, which never came to be. So they have these memories with them, and it's a very painful memory. So talking about whether Igbos have these memories with them, and it sticks with them. So somehow they're living in Nigeria. Like I said earlier, they want a more fair playing ground, and there is no, the Igbos, I don't think, they have so many segments of the Igbos. They have, some sort of the age brackets. The older people are not as active. The younger ones are expressing themselves more in, I will use the word kinetics or something, more what I mean by that, physical confrontation, which should really be the case. So they're all responding the way they feel to the perceived, injustices, meted to them. So, but I think at the end, the underlying fact is that the Igbos want a fairer country at the end of the day.
All right. Now, recently, Igbo organizations have made, more formal demands like the Igbo Agenda Dialogue, which stated that the Igbo votes will no longer be mobilized without a binding memorandum of understanding with political parties or candidates. Now, do you think that is the best strategy to pull the Igbos from the peripheries to the center?
Well, the Igbos, like I said, they have great memories. They're great people, just like any other people. And they process information the way they, and the way you process information, it comes from, your past, what's been done, what's been there for you, and what you think you will get out from it in the future. So the Igbos do process this info, but I think it's wrong to group the Igbos as saying, okay, we'll come under one umbrella, because the Igbos at the end of the day are Republicans. They are free-thinking people. They know what's best for them. So grouping the Igbos, they must go this way, but don't get me wrong, there has to be an Igbo agenda. But within that Igbo agenda, Igbos are free spirits that, think independently. But at the end of the day, you have so many groups working for so many people now, and we see what's happening in the Southeast. We see, you don't need to be told, we see the appointments going on. The Igbos are full of energy. Their strength is more in the economic sphere. They trade, they build, they take all sorts of risk. And at the end of the day, if you do take some risk in economics, in economics, you are told if you do take some risks, you are likely to get more return on your risk. So the Igbos somehow economically been rewarded for their enterprise, but somehow that's unquote, that success or whatever, it sometimes breeds some sort of discontent from some other people, but it comes at a great price. It comes at a great price. So the Igbos politically are not necessarily, they are not very matured, but at the same time, I'm using these words carefully. I said they are not very mature, but what I mean by that is they've not really gotten very well into the political space, because there seems to be some sort of conspiracy against them. You take, for instance, the last time P2B came up. I'm not talking about P2B as an Igbo person. P2B is an Igbo person, a national figure of Igbo extraction. He changed the narratives of politics from an ethnic. He was talking on national issues. He was talking on issues like from consumption to production and things like that. And he had a national appeal. But somehow, some irredentists, some people across the board, started pushing that as an Igbo agenda, which is very wrong. So most things you do, people see it as an Igbo agenda, which is very wrong. So for me to just summarize, I would say there's nothing like, the Igbos are seeking a fair playing ground. Fair playing ground, and things are done not necessarily asking for any particular favor or to take out of turn. And that's the way it should really be in a federation.
Now, you've made mention about Igbos being Republican in nature.
Yes.
And, you know, they want equal playing ground, but then they have different voices. And, you know, I feel like when there are different voices, it's quite difficult to come together when you find people who have contradicting thoughts and coming from different angles, and they all seem to be pursuing one agenda. Don't you think that if the Igbos have one collective voice instead of the different voices, it could go a long way in pushing, you know, the Igbo people into the political space?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When I say the Igbos are Republicans and they speak from different voices, I don't mean it's you know, it's something they take home, or how do I put it now? Yes, they do speak, but at the end of the day, they do process information. They come from, and what they do, they speak from different voices, but at the end of the day, they process this information and come with the superior argument. So an Igbo man is open to, speaks from his own point of view, but if you convince him, if you come with a superior argument, he goes on with you. So they do, and that's very important. It's very important, you know, unlike some areas where you have this feudalistic system where, you know, from top to bottom, you are told what to do. The Igbos is like from ground up. People come together, like the Omunna meetings, they speak their voice, they are free to speak their voices, and at the end of the day, the best voice, you know, the coalition of the voices. So the Igbos are also amenable to superior arguments. They come from their own, but if you're able to convince them, and Republican, you know, whatever, Republican philosophy does not mean it's discordant or, you know, some sort of different voices speaking at the same time. What it means, everybody has a choice to, or, you know, is free to air his view. But at the end of the day, the superior argument at the end of the day is adopted. And the Igbos have always done that. They've always, you know, exhibited that in elections. So when they come at the end of the day, they come from their own different points of view. But at the end of the day, they do tend to adopt a superior argument, you know, what they think is best for them, individually and collectively.
All right, now comparing the Igbos from the First Republic down to the Fourth Republic that we are in, where would you say the Igbos are, if we can take it back?
Yeah, that's a nice question. My take is this: during the First Republic, the Igbos were more confident. They traveled freely, and the country then was fairer. They expressed themselves everywhere. They felt you know, but after the unfortunate civil war, you know, they say once beaten, twice shy. They sort of took a back seat. And after the civil war, there was this issue of marginalization came in from opportunities and things. And that led to so many Igbos leaving the country, especially younger people, to live abroad. And that also led to a situation where you now have a large Igbo diaspora community abroad. So along the line, the Igbos have just felt a bit uncomfortable with the system. And these things persist unknowingly. I think some other things, some of our abroad, but what I keep saying is this: we've been put together in this country called Nigeria with our neighbors, the Yorubas, the Southwest and the North. So at the end of the day, we must find a way of living together. So the Igbos have been responding to some perceived, you know, people are a bit worried of the Igbos. They think they are too powerful as a people, but I don't think so. They're just natural people, just like any other people. But the only thing is that they have that burning desire within them to succeed. So, and whatever they do, they go through a lot of, you know, deprivation. They put in their best to succeed. Nothing special about them. So over the time, if I answer your question properly, over time from the First Republic, when they were a bit more confident, until they were beaten and killed, to now, the youths are beginning to feel that this country is really not for them. For instance, since we've been on this democratic experience now for about 26 years, and the power has been moving up and down, you know, people have optics, and optics do matter. People see what's going on, people see appointments. You come into a house, for instance, you have different rooms, you know, and we have sons, each son should have a key to the room, but one of the sons is not given a key to the room. So it's that optics is very important. So that's psychology. So Igbos are now, some people are beginning to say, okay, the best thing is to take up arms. The best thing is to leave the country. The country is not for us. But I don't think that's the solution. I don't think that's a big question. The big question is this, at the end of the day, is a question of fairness, a question of true federalism. And the big problem with Nigeria is this issue of unitary government, where somebody from the center dictates everything. For instance, we have this laudable, 6 geopolitical zone structure. But unfortunately, it's not in the constitution. There should be devolution of powers from the center. There shouldn't be any, the center shouldn't really have any need or any business trying to control local governance.
Now, speaking about political future, now 2027 is approaching, and there have been a lot of political movements and all whatnot. Would you say that the Southeast is actively positioning itself, properly to negotiate with other regions? How do you see the Southeast, the position of the Southeast in the coming elections?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because there's some sort of apathy at the end of the day. Unless there's true electoral reforms, then we are not talking of a fair contest in 2027. And then most of our political leaders are jumping guns. Most of them are going to the the center to save their heads. So a situation where you have everybody decamping, where you almost turn into a one-party state in Nigeria, then there's no contest at the end of it. Like I said, the Igbos process this information. They are seeing what's going on. So sometimes when you think, it's just natural. When you think maybe in a football match, you are involved in a football match, and you think the umpire, the referee who is on the umpire in the field, in a football, the referee is unfair. There's nothing you do that will matter. Then there's no need really bothering yourself to contest. A contest is better when it's fairness. You think the process is fair. And when the process is not fair, then anything can happen. People are not fools. They see what's going on. They know what's going on. So people are just looking at, okay, if you think that's the way, okay, that's the 2027 will come and pass until Nigeria is ready for democracy.
All right. Now, when you were speaking, you said that some Igbos would resort to older solutions that could, skyrocket the Igbos. So now, I believe that some persons have actually diverted to secession. For example, Nnamdi Kanu. So now, do you think that Nnamdi Kanu's detention could actually trigger separatist sentiment and, threaten national cohesion?
Well, I think the Igbo question is a lot larger than Nnamdi Kanu, unfortunately, but it's become a matter by his continued detention. And don't get me wrong, Nnamdi Kanu is a much younger person, and he was speaking from these memories of deprivation, these memories of perceived marginalization. So his message has been on air, he's been propagating this message, and a lot of people bought into that because people know what's fair. People know what's fair. As when Nigeria was working well, then Nnamdi Kanu's message wouldn't have, been wouldn't have been as very relevant as it is today. Somehow there's this extraordinary rendition. He was brought back. The courts have said, release this man. And he's not been released. He's been kept under solitary confinement, and there's just no reason for that. They see him as a threat. And again, in response, the federal government is engaging on kinetics. The whole of Southeast is, you go around, although there have been some killings, which is regrettable, but I think, this blockade of the Southeast is also giving out a wrong signal at the end of the day. So, but the point I'm making is that the Igbo question is a lot bigger than Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu is coming from the view that secession is the solution. But I think at the end of the day, my view is this: it must not be secession. What we need is a true federalism in Nigeria, where the center is a bit weak, or not weak, a bit, the powers are also so much concentrated at the center. So, and that makes it, the quest for the center is so much. So, but if you could devolve power, you have your own state police, you have your own system of governance and things, it will all go well. People will be a bit more relaxed in the country at the end of the day.
Now, speaking of Nnamdi Kanu, I mean, you've made mention that the Igbo agenda is a lot bigger than him. But can you say that this IPOB agitation and this social media activism has influenced, the political expectations of Igbo people, particularly Igbo youths?
Of course, because there is this age bracket, like I mentioned before. The older people, the people that saw the war, people in their 50s and above, or maybe 60s and above, they take a different approach to it. The younger ones have seen, many of them are global people. They've gone around the world. They see how things are. But like I said, the Igbos now have a large, diaspora community. Most Igbos are well traveled. Some travel for, studies. Others travel for business activities. They see how things are done elsewhere. So they have this burning spirit in them. And don't forget, Igbos are Republicans. They speak out. They don't want, they always speak out. And one thing about Republicanism is this: it abhors injustice. So Igbos are a bit active. They speak. And some younger ones, maybe without, think the best approach is secession, to leave or take up arms. But it might not be well thought after, it might not just be the solution, because you don't have the levers of power, So I will say at the end of the day that the younger ones are more, just like you expect. Younger people are a bit more, active. They want to engage. They want to fight, they think, things are, but the older ones are saying, oh, wait, it should be a bit, we should say how you, so, but at the end of the day, there should be a coalition of these voices. We need the youths, we need the older ones, but at the end of the, my view is this, that it should not be through engagement with the federal government, it should not be through bullets, it should not be through, but the agitation, yes, peaceful agitation, keeping it in the media, writing about it, talking about the marginalization, because people see it. It's very clear. It's very clear.
All right. Now, when you were talking, you were speaking on how the center has so much power concentrated there. Now, how do we actually create a balance in the system? Do you think, okay, let's bring it back to Constitution. Do you think amending the Constitution will be a solution, or do you think having a fresh Constitution will be the solution?
Any of them, having a fresh Constitution or even amending the current one. Like I said, the laudable idea of the 6 geopolitical zones is not even in the Constitution. It's widely used as yardstick in statistics and everything. But it's not, unfortunately, it's not in the Constitution. And what happens is some people that benefit from all these largesse, they are not interested. So many things were creations of the military, like the local government system. The military government in the past, they created this, they were not questioned, gave preponderance of local governments to some people, gave preponderance of states to so many people. And at the end of the day, based on those figures, you are now running a democracy, and we have some indicators that will tell you the population of the country. You have things like school intake, registration of hospitals, schools, and things like that. It does not reflect the big fact. At the end of the day, you see that Southeast is still so much populated, but somehow you now have a system where, unquote, the majority is almost turning to be the minority. So at the end of the day, the solution is either amendment of the Constitution, which is a bit difficult. What they put in the way you amend the Constitution is so difficult. It's an uphill task. But for this country to work well, we should return to, true federalism. And one of the ways of doing it is to adopt this geopolitical zones that has been accepted. This is something that has been accepted, and then you put regional governments in place. You put regional governments in place. That's one thing that would, at the end of the day, help this country to develop. Because it's not about anybody. The country is not developing well. It's not moving well, despite our great potentials.
All right. Finally, one last thing before we go, because I really want you to talk on that. How has zoning actually affected the chances of the Igbos in politics?
Well, zoning is there. Zoning was like one of the things also brought in to bring in fairness. When you zone things, today it's your turn. After that, turn by turn, something like that. Zoning actually, in a system that works well, zoning has no place, because what you do is you look for the best. But somehow in a multicultural and ethnic country like Nigeria, sometimes zoning comes in to bring in some fairness. So that zoning system is in place. Most of the parties have that in their constitution, most of the parties. But you find out that many of them have, over the time, it's not been implemented. We've gone round the circuit. The Southeast, for instance, the big job of the presidency. The Southeast has not been able to get that. And zoning is there on paper. It should work really, but is it working? That's another question. All
right, a very good question. Barrister Pato Nukuli, thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now we just spoke to a legal practitioner and real estate mogul on the Igbo agenda and cohesion in Nigeria political future. Thank you for staying with us. Now we will go on a short break. Stay with us.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing